Oregon, the state of extreme landscapes, where ocean, desert, and mountain touch. This is the story of a contrasting territory. 370 miles of coastline pounded by the Pacific, deserts that burn at 104 degrees, and glaciers that never melt. A true forgotten geological laboratory. We'll discover active volcanoes that still smoke, forests where the sun never penetrates, lakes formed by craters from 7,000 years ago. But Oregon is above all wilderness and isolation. There are national parks where you don't meet anyone for days, rivers that cross impassable gorges, and dirt roads that lead to nowhere. Get ready to see pure and wild America. Without compromise, without limits. Welcome to America's natural preserve. Welcome to the Oregon you don't know. Mount Hood National Forest. Imagine walking through a forest with trees that touch the sky. Mount Hood National Forest spans over 990,000 acres of wild nature, dominated by the unmistakable silhouette of this volcano, standing 11,249 feet tall. Here, the intense fragrance of Douglas firs mingles with the fresh mountain air, while footsteps sink into the carpet of needles that crackle underfoot. Along the trails, lakes like Mirror and Trillium reflect the snow-capped peak, while sequoias and red firs rise for dozens of feet, creating a canopy of branches where sunbeams filter through. In summer, alpine meadows explode in a kaleidoscope of purple lupines and red Indian paintbrush. But it's in winter that this place reveals its true magic. The Timberline Lodge, indeed, built in the 1930s during the Great Depression, becomes a golden refuge against the blinding white of the snow. Skiers and snowboarders, moreover, race down the ski slopes, while the volcano's fumaroles remind us that beneath that beauty, a primordial force still sleeps. It's surely a realm where nature still dictates the rules. Hell's Canyon. The deepest canyon in North America didn't get its hell name by accident. Here, where the Snake River has carved the earth for millions of years, creating an abyss of 2,436 meters, actually deeper than the Grand Canyon, geography becomes as dramatic as a movie set. The sheer walls reveal a violent history of ancient volcanic eruptions, while ancient Native American petroglyphs emerge among the rocks, like messages from a lost world. The contrast is breathtaking. Arid deserts suddenly transform into forests of ponderosa pines, and golden eagles soar in the rising currents. The Snake River, trapped in this stone corridor, forms impetuous rapids that have challenged explorers and adventurers for centuries. It's a place where geology becomes art and time takes on cosmic dimensions. Columbia River Gorge. Listen to the roar of falling water. The Columbia River Gorge is a spectacular gash, carved by the Columbia River through the Cascade Mountain Range. But what makes this canyon truly special are its waterfalls. Over 90 waterfalls that plunge from rocky walls up to 1,970 feet high. For example, there are the Multnomah Falls with their 620-foot freefall. But these are just the appetizer. Here, the wind blows constantly, perpetually, and creates perfect conditions for windsurfing and kitesurfing. Native Americans consider this place sacred, and you'll understand why when you see the morning mist rising from the river, while sun rays filter through the pines. There's also the historic Columbia River Highway, built in 1916 and running alongside the canyon, offering breathtaking views at every turn. This gorge, therefore, is a natural corridor where water has sculpted the impossible. Thor's Well. Welcome to the so-called Gate to Hell of the Pacific Ocean. Thor's Well is a geological phenomenon that defies all logic. It's a rocky pool that seems to swallow the ocean without ever filling up. Located on the Yaquina coast, this basaltic formation creates a perfect optical illusion when waves crash against it. During high tide, seawater pours into the pool and then mysteriously disappears, as if there existed a secret tunnel to the center of the earth. The black volcanic rock contrasts with the white of the sea foam, creating a dramatic effect that has inspired legends and myths. The best time to admire this spectacle is 1 hour before high tide, when the waves are high enough to fill the well, but not so high as to cover it completely. Cannon Beach. Cannon Beach stretches for 4 miles with fine golden sand, perfect for long walks, while seagulls soar above the waves. The name comes from a cannon found here in 1846. Remnant of a shipwreck that recalls stories of explorers and adventurers. Here stands Haystack Rock, which rises from the ocean like a 236-foot monolith, witness to volcanic eruptions that occurred 15 million years ago. This rock formation isn't just beautiful to look at, but during low tide transforms into a natural aquarium, where sea anemones, starfish, and hermit crabs create a colorful ecosystem. Moreover, when marine fog envelops the coast, the monolith appears and disappears, creating an almost surreal atmosphere. This beach therefore represents a perfect balance between wild beauty and accessibility, where the primordial force of the Pacific Ocean merges with postcard landscapes, making every sunset an unforgettable experience. Newport. The scent of fresh fish and marine algae welcomes you at Newport's historic bayfront. This fishing port, transformed into a tourist attraction, still pulses with the authentic rhythm of maritime life. Crab fishermen's boats sway in the harbor, while sea lions crowd the piers, creating sounds that echo among the fish warehouses. The majestic Yaquina Bay Bridge dominates the landscape with its elegant arches, built in 1936 and having become the recognizable symbol of the city, connecting the two shores of the bay with its structure that reflects in the waters below. There's also the Yaquina Head Lighthouse, with its 92-foot height, which still guides ships after 150 years of service. Finally, when the sun sets behind the horizon, painting the ocean orange and purple, you understand why Newport is called the Pearl of the Oregon Coast. Bandon. Forget everything you know about golf courses. Bandon Dunes Golf Resort has transformed the natural dunes of this small coastal town into a paradise for links golf lovers, which is a style of golf born in Scotland that exploits natural terrain without altering it. Here, the ocean wind shapes every shot, while waves crash just yards from the green. But Bandon isn't just golf. The town, in fact, is famous for its cranberries, harvested by flooding the fields, which in autumn turn red, with fruits floating on the surface. The historic center, instead, rebuilt after a devastating fire in 1936, maintains the charm of yesteryear, with its colorful Victorian houses. And then there are the beaches. Miles of golden sand dotted with rock formations emerging from the ocean. It's certainly a small jewel where tradition and innovation merge. Brookings. The last outpost before the California border. Brookings boasts having Oregon's mildest climate thanks to ocean currents that keep temperatures constant year-round. But what makes this port truly special is its position. It's nestled between coastal mountains and the ocean and offers a unique combination of marine and mountain adventures. From the harbor depart boats for Chinook salmon fishing, which can reach 66 pounds. While the Chetco River, which flows right here, is one of the cleanest waterways in the United States. There are also the gigantic Port Orford cedars that grow only in this area and are so precious they were exported to Japan to build temples. Finally, when the morning fog lifts from the sea, Brookings shows its most poetic face. Lighthouses of the coast. Oregon's coast is dotted with over a dozen historic lighthouses, each with its own personality and stories. But two of these stand out for charm and importance. Two white sentinels that defy time and storms. The Yaquina Bay Lighthouse, built in 1871, is the only lighthouse in Oregon where the keeper lived right in the tower. Its light has guided thousands of ships through Newport's dangerous bay. But what truly strikes you is the contrast between the structure's candid white and the intense green of the pines surrounding it. "37 miles further north instead, the Heceta Head Lighthouse dominates the cliffs from 197 feet high. Its light, visible up to 21 miles away, is among the most powerful on the Pacific coast. Here, marine fog creates magical light plays, while the keeper's house, transformed into a bed and breakfast, offers breathtaking views, where the ocean disappears on the horizon. Two lighthouses, two eras, and one mission: protect those who navigate the Pacific's most treacherous waters. Crater Lake. What would happen if a volcano collapsed on itself and filled with rain and snow from thousands of years? Crater Lake is the answer to this impossible question. This circular lake, 1,943 feet deep, occupies the caldera of Mount Mazama, which exploded 7,700 years ago in an eruption that forever changed Oregon's landscape. The water is such an intense blue it seems artificial, but it's not. This unique hue derives from extreme depth and crystalline purity. The water, in fact, comes only from rain and snowmelt, without inlets or outlets. At the center of the lake emerges Wizard Island, which is a volcanic cone that formed after the collapse and created a mysterious island, reachable only by boat during summer months. In winter, instead, snow can reach 49 feet high, transforming this place into a white and blue lunar landscape. Trillium Lake. What you see before you is one of Oregon's most photographed places. And we're talking about Mount Hood, perfectly reflected in the calm waters of Trillium Lake. This small artificial basin, created in 1960 for recreational and environmental purposes, has become a magnet for photographers and nature lovers. The secret, however, lies in the details. In fact, in the early morning hours when the air is still and the water becomes a perfect mirror, Mount Hood appears upside down, creating a symmetrical effect that takes your breath away. The trilliums, which are the three-petaled white flowers from which the lake takes its name, bloom in spring, transforming the undergrowth into a white carpet. But beware, because this paradise is accessible only from May to October, when the snow melts and the road becomes passable. In autumn, when maple leaves turn red and gold, Mount Hood's reflection becomes something truly magical and rich with colors. Sparks Lake. This is a lake that decided to be different. Sparks Lake isn't deep like the others. Indeed, in some spots you can cross it walking, but what it loses in depth, it gains in character. Located in the Cascade Mountains, this volcanic basin is surrounded by a landscape that seems from another planet. Here, basaltic lava has created black and tormented rock formations that emerge from the water like modern sculptures. The Three Sisters, which are three volcanic peaks exceeding 10,000 feet, reflect in the lake's surface, creating a postcard panorama. But the real magic happens when the wind rises, with waves that ripple the water, fragmenting the mountain's reflections into thousands of golden sparks. It's surely a primordial landscape where time seems to have stopped at the Ice Age. Emigrant Lake. It owes its name to the pioneers who in 1846 crossed the homonymous creek here during their journey to Oregon. But today, this artificial basin has become a refuge for ducks and geese during their seasonal migrations. This artificial basin, in fact, created in the 1960s, has become an oasis of peace in the Rogue River Valley. The emerald-colored water contrasts with the golden hills of Northern California, because this lake is practically at the border, creating a landscape that resembles Tuscany more than Oregon. During summer, temperatures can reach 104 degrees, making it one of the few lakes in Oregon where swimming is truly pleasant. The lake serves primarily for agricultural irrigation of the valley, and for this reason, the water level can vary drastically during the year. In spring, it's at maximum, while in late summer, it can reduce significantly, leaving large areas of muddy shore exposed. Willamette River. There's something hypnotic about the Willamette River. Maybe it's its 187 miles of water that cross Oregon with the calm of those who have all the time in the world. This river also has a unique particularity. In fact, it's one of the few in the world that flows from south to north, collecting waters from over 40 tributaries before flowing into the Columbia. But the Willamette isn't just water, indeed it's Oregon's backbone. Its fertile banks attracted the first settlers in the 1840s, giving birth to the famous Oregon Trail. And today, while navigating between Portland and Salem, you see an ecosystem that has been reborn. In the 1970s, the river was so polluted that fish couldn't survive. But thanks to decades of cleanup, it now hosts salmon and sturgeon again. The steamboats that once transported grain and lumber have been replaced by kayaks, houseboats, and commercial ships that transport grain, while blue herons over 3 feet tall fish patiently among the reeds. Columbia River Gorge waterfalls. Among the dozens of waterfalls that dot the canyon created by the Columbia River, 3 stand out for charm and accessibility. Yaquina Falls welcome tourists after a 1.2-mile walk through a narrow canyon where light filters through rock walls, creating light plays. Here, water from Tanner Creek falls 351 feet, forming a liquid curtain that shatters on basaltic rocks, while moss covers every surface, creating an emerald green carpet. Lateral Falls, instead, point straight down, with 246 feet of free fall, ending in a perfectly circular pool. The particularity is that you can walk behind the waterfall, thanks to a natural cave carved by erosion. Multnomah Falls, finally, with their 620 feet of height, are Oregon's tallest and the most visited in the Pacific Northwest. Divided into 2 levels, they're connected by a historic bridge from 1914 that offers a breathtaking view of the upper 541-foot waterfall. In autumn, when maple leaves turn fiery red, these waterfalls become living paintings, with water contrasting with the vegetation's warm colors. Sahalie Falls. The name says it all. because Sahalie in Chinook language means sky or high, and when you see this waterfall, you'll understand why. The Mackenzie River plunges 98 feet high, creating a water fan that widens downward. It's not Oregon's tallest waterfall, but its power and surrounding landscape make it truly celestial. But what makes these waterfalls special is also their sound. The water crashing on volcanic rocks creates a deep roar that you feel in your bones, almost like a primordial vibration that connects directly with nature's force. It should also be remembered that the water feeding these waterfalls is so pure that it's bottled and sold, and is fed by underground springs from the Cascade Mountains. Coosa Falls. The roar of water plunging 69 feet high accompanies you from a distance, when you still can't see the waterfall, through the Douglas firs. Coosa Falls are one of the hidden gems of the Mackenzie River, along scenic byway 126. Here, water precipitates vertically, creating a stark contrast with the dark volcanic rocks. The mist rising from the base forms intermittent rainbows on sunny days, while the mile-and-a-half trail leads through an ancient forest. Gigantic western red cedars frame this natural spectacle, while the temperature is always cool, even in midsummer, thanks to the water's cooling effect and the dense canopy's shade. Smith Rock. Imagine rock towers rising in the desert, colored in all shades from orange to deep red. This is Smith Rock. Rock formations made of volcanic ash welded by heat that tell a story of eruptions that occurred 30 million years ago. Smith Rock is also the park where modern sport climbing was born in the 1980s, but you don't need to be climbers to be enchanted by it. In fact, here the contrast is surprising. On one side, the desert of Central Oregon with its junipers and sagebrush. On the other, the Cascade Mountains that profile on the horizon. The Crooked River flows at the base of the walls, creating a green oasis that attracts red-tailed hawks and golden eagles. At sunset, when light ignites the rocks like burning coals, you understand why photographers come here from all over the world. Painted hills, as if a painter had spilled paint cans on gentle rolling hills, The painted hills are pure geological magic. These red, yellow, black, and gold striations aren't random, but each band tells 35 million years of climate history. Red is oxidized iron during hot and dry periods, yellow is iron deposits in more humid environments, and black is ancient petrified forests. The John Day Fossil Beds National Monument, of which these hills are part, guards one of North America's richest fossil deposits. The best time to visit this place is late afternoon, when light angulation enhances every shade, and shadows create depth among the terrain's folds. Leslie Gulch. Welcome to the wildest Far West that exists, where volcanic rock spires rise in a canyon that seems from a Western movie. Leslie Gulch is a collection of honey-colored rock formations, sculpted by 15 million years of wind and rain. This remote canyon near the Idaho border hides surprises at every turn, including natural arches, pinnacles that defy gravity, and caves that seem like hermits' dwellings. The 15-mile dirt road leading here is already an adventure in itself, and during the journey you can see peregrine falcons and golden eagles, while prickly cacti and wild lupins bloom on the slopes. Finally, the Owyhee River flows in the valley bottom, creating a green oasis in this Martian landscape. Pilot Rock. A 492-foot volcanic monolith that rises solitary in the Rogue Valley and guided pioneers along the Oregon Trail. Pilot Rock is what geologists call a volcanic neck, that is, the solidified core of an ancient volcano, of which the rest has been eroded by time. For native tribes, it was sacred, a spiritual reference point that connected earth and sky. In the surrounding meadows in spring, a symphony of colors explodes, with blue lupines, orange poppies, and white mountain lilies. Raptors use the thermal currents that form around the rock to glide effortlessly, while deer and elk graze in the clearings below. Columbia Gorge. Hidden in the depths of the Rogue River National Forest, Columbia Gorge is a narrow canyon where water has carved for millennia galleries and natural pools in volcanic rock. The name derives from the Tachelma tribe, which means those who live along the river, and which considered this place sacred for its healing properties. The access trail is a challenge, steep, slippery, and reserved for experienced hikers. But those who reach the bottom discover a fairy tale underground world. The emerald-colored water forms perfect pools for a regenerating dive, while black rock walls rise 98 feet, creating a natural cathedral. Light filters from above in golden rays, illuminating giant ferns and mosses that cover every surface, while the sound of flowing water echoes between the walls. Willamette Valley. Spread like a green carpet between the Cascade Mountains and the Coast Range, it's the beating heart of agricultural Oregon. This 149-mile valley first nourished Native Americans with its salmon and acorns. Then Oregon Trail pioneers with its fertile lands. Today it's world famous for its Pinot Noir, which are wines born from volcanic soils and a perfect Mediterranean climate. Driving along secondary roads, you discover vineyards, hop fields for craft beer, pear orchards, and cherries. The Jory Hills, with their iron-rich red soil, host wineries where you can taste award-winning wines while admiring Mount Hood peaking on the horizon. Here, every season has its rhythm. Harvest in autumn, pruning in winter, flowering in spring, and golden sun in summer. Vista House. Perched on Crown Point, 656 feet above the Columbia River, Vista House is much more than a simple panoramic point. Built in 1918, this octagonal sandstone structure is a memorial to Oregon pioneers and an architectural masterpiece that blends European style and local materials. From here, the Columbia River Gorge opens, like a giant wound in the earth, carved by the ancient Missoula floods that 15,000 years ago created this spectacular canyon. The constant wind blowing through the gorge has also created a paradise for windsurfers and kite surfers, while the canyon walls host dozens of waterfalls, including the famous Multnomah, visible in the distance. Portland. The aroma of roasted coffee mingles with the scent of freshly baked donuts, while fine rain creates a silver veil over downtown rooftops. Portland isn't just a city, it's a successful social experiment, where gourmet food trucks park next to bookstores that sell used books 24 hours a day. This is due precisely to the Keep Portland Weird culture. That is, Keep Portland Strange, which isn't just a tourist slogan here, but a life philosophy. The city's bridges, moreover, aren't just crossings, but works of art that tell stories. There's the Burnside Bridge, for example, which opens to let boats pass, while from Tom McCall Waterfront Park you see Mount Hood peeking between the skyscrapers. It's also known as the City of Roses for its lush gardens, and is an example of sustainable urban planning with a vast park system and an enviable network of bike paths. Eugene. When the University of Oregon is in session, Eugene pulses like a young heart. This university city of 170,000 inhabitants gave birth to modern running. Here, in fact, in the 1970s, Coach Bill Bowerman invented the first Nike shoes in his kitchen, and today, Hayward Field has become the world temple of track and field. But Eugene doesn't live only on sports. Every Saturday, in fact, downtown transforms into a lively open-air market, where local artisans display their creations, including ceramics, silver jewelry, beeswax candles, and lavender-scented soaps. Spencer Butte, instead, dominates the city's southern horizon, and a 40-minute climb takes you up this volcanic hill where the entire valley opens beneath your feet. Ashland. The scent of wild sage mingles with the aroma of roasted coffee, while downtown streets fill with actors walking toward the theaters. Ashland lives a double identity. In winter, it's a mountain town of 21,000 inhabitants. In summer, it's the theatrical capital of the world from February to October, when the Oregon Shakespeare Festival brings almost 500,000 visitors here. Lithia Park crosses the city's heart like a green river of 93 acres, with trails flanking centennial oaks and naturally carbonated mineral water springs that locals consider an elixir of long life. The Siskiyou Mountains, moreover, embrace Ashland with ponderosa pine forests and clearings where California poppies and wild lupines grow. Grants Pass. "It's the climate," reads the city's motto, and after an hour here, you immediately realize the particularly pleasant climate. Grants Pass nestles in a valley where the Rogue River flows between hills covered with madrone trees, while the historic downtown preserves 1920s buildings with red brick facades. But the real attraction here is the water. This is the kingdom of rafting, thanks to the Rogue River Rapids, which is one of the few federally protected rivers, and where Chinook salmon still swim upstream to spawn. Jet boats, moreover, carry through wild canyons, where golden eagles and bears fish in the pools. Roseburg. Roseburg is one of those Oregon cities that combines the practicality of a city with the hospitality of a small town. With its 23,000 inhabitants, it's the commercial and administrative center of Douglas County, surrounded by fir forests that have provided work to the lumber industry for over a century. The historic downtown develops along a few blocks, with local shops, banks, and offices that serve rural communities scattered in the surrounding valleys. The strategic position at the confluence of the Umpqua rivers makes it a natural passage point between the coast and the interior, but also makes it one of the paradises of so-called fly fishing. In fact, it's one of the most famous places in the Pacific Northwest for this sport, and trout here can reach even 33 pounds. This, therefore, is Oregon, a kaleidoscope of natural and cultural wonders that challenge the imagination. And if you want to explore other fantastic places in America and around the world, choose from our playlist that you'll find here on the right.